Okay, good morning. It is August 19th, 2025, and this is the regular council meeting for the town of Rocky Mountain House. And I will call the meeting to order at 9 a.m. First order of business, we have an agenda in front of us. Does anyone have anything they need to change on the agenda? Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I also move the agenda as circulated.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Next order of business is public hearing. So I hereby declare the public hearing for bylaw 2025/06 open. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to the Municipal Government Act in order to consider the proposed bylaw 2025/06, a bylaw to amend the Town of Rocky Mountain House Land Use Bylaw 2020/19. At this hearing, the public will be allowed to make presentations to council, and all persons present who believe that their interest in a property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard and or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. Those who wish to speak concerning the proposed bylaw may address the council by clearly stating your name and address. Then you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaw. Should council require clarification on this issue raised by the public, council will call on staff to further clarify the matter. The staff's comments will be limited to technical matters and should not be construed as support or in opposition for the development. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council members today is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this public hearing to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with individual citizens. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged from or prevented from making their views heard. Any person who wishes to present a written submission to council may do so. All those submissions will be retained by the secretary, and copies of the submissions will be available upon request after the hearing. So I am going to ask administration to introduce the bylaw.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Phillips and Council. First reading was given on amending bylaw 2025/06 on July 15th, 2025. Advertisement of the public hearing was placed in the Mountaineer on July 30th, August 6th, and August 13th. A notice was also placed on the town's website on July 21st and will remain there until the public hearing and council has either approved or defeated the bylaw. As of the date of this report, an advertisement for same, administration has not received any comment from members of the public. I just want to get some direction from council as to what kind of detail you would like me to go through the bylaw. Does council have any questions, or do you want me to go through all of the changes? We've visited this a few times, so I just want to get some feedback.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
done this a few times. Is there any members of council that would like to see that, or are we okay with that? I think we're okay with that. We've
Okay.
seen it already.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so I'll ask administration, and you've already said this, but do we have any correspondence or written submissions?
I've received nothing.
Okay.
Our office has received nothing.
Okay, thank you. And is there anyone present here that would like to speak on the bylaw? And I'm not seeing anyone here that would be speaking on the bylaw. So I'm going to move on and ask council if they have any technical questions for administration. I am not seeing any questions, so I will ask for a motion then to close the public hearing. Councillor Caprero.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, so we have a delegation for the data center feasibility, and we'll get you gentlemen to come up front. And just a reminder, when you are speaking, just to press the button so the red light comes on, so it's live streamed.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
And we do have your presentation on our computers as
Okay,
well.
perfect, thank you. Morning, Your Worship, Council. Thank you for having us to present this the study that we did. My name's Rod Valdez. I'm with Ballard Group. I'm the Senior Advisor for Economic Development for the organization. And Andrew's our Analyst for Economic Development. So I'll get started. The town hired us to do a feasibility study for data centers. So I'll start off with sort of covering the methodology. So the purpose, of course, is to determine whether the town is a strong candidate for attracting data centers. And so we have our methodology was in sort of two phases. So we wanted to make sure that the business investment capacity of the town was aligned with data center and data center industries. So we did phase one. Phase one was essentially reviewing the industry's market dynamics and their growth and identifying their operational needs, understanding the industry really well that way. And then having that knowledge, what we did in phase two is we applied it to the investment capacity of the town, understanding the infrastructure and the assets of the town, everything like that. So we did it sort of in two phases that way. So we'll start off with data center environment. Our first step was the market analysis of the data center industry as a whole. We did this in 3 steps. Number one, we did an industry overview, and of course this is a summarized version of what's in the study itself. And this is just basically a description of the industry, telling you what it is and where it's at and those kind of things. And then we did a current market analysis, and this was analysis of the global markets and the Canadian market of where the industry sits as a whole. And then we did a future outlook of market trends. And again, we wanted to make sure that we identified whether the market was growing or was declining, right? Because if you're looking to pursue a specific sector industry, you want to make sure it's a growth sector. So that was sort of a overall view of the market itself, of the industry data centers. Oh, sorry. I'll just use this. There we go. So the first thing we did with the data centers is we looked at their industry operational requirements, and we did 2 interviews. So the first one we did was with Digital Realty. They have 250 data centers across 25 countries, and they facilitate large companies like Google and Microsoft. And we did an interview with them with the operating director of North America. So they're a large capacity data center across North America and Europe. And then the second one we did was with eStructure. They're a Canadian company with 16 data centers across the country and 3 in Calgary. They do smaller capacity data centers for smaller clients, and we had an interview with their senior vice president of operations, and this was to identify all the operational needs of industry in both large data centers and smaller capacity data centers. And this is what we derived from them in our conversations with them. So these are the key things for their operational needs. There's the electrical grid capacity, and these are broken down into both large capacity and smaller capacity data centers. So large scale data centers are 0.2 to 0.3 gigawatts that they need to use up to 1 gigawatt. Smaller capacity data center is 30 to 100 megawatts. And then there was a high bandwidth fiber capacity. So both large and small data centers require high bandwidth capacity with redundancy, and they also need connections to fiber trunks. So fiber trunks are the main line. So that would be the line, like for example, going from Edmonton through Red Deer through Calgary, and then going through all the major cities across TransCanada. They don't usually go out into the rural spaces. But they both need that capacity. And then they require industrial land. So the big one is the large scale data centers. They need 500 to 1,000 acres. What they usually do is they start small. They start with about 50 acres, but they will buy 500 to 1,000 because they need to expand, and they essentially don't want anyone in their way. So that's why they don't typically go into industrial park, because if there are tenants beside them, they can't expand, right? So the smaller capacity data centers, they're not as large land requirements, about 30 to 100 acres in total. And then finally, the labor requirements. So large scale data centers are about 100 to 300 staff, depending on the scale, and then the smaller ones are 10 to 30. And then the other thing we did also is within the data center environment, what we wanted to do is there's a lot of public partners in the province and with the federal government that as a municipality you can operate and get to a lot of assistance with. So in the report we provide these partners and their functions. So as listed here, so Invest Alberta, which is they primarily do investment internationally. They have offices internationally, and they also deal with a lot of data center companies. Alberta Ministry of Jobs and Economy and Trade, of course. Invest in Canada, which is similar to Invest Alberta, but they're regionally and they're federal. And then Alberta Innovates, and they do innovation and research. They deal with a lot of research and IT companies, and they also deal with international companies. And then finally, the Alberta AI Data Center Concierge Service. So as you know, AI centers in Alberta has been a large focus in the last few years. The province itself directly created this concierge service team within the ministry, and all this team does and this office does is help AI centers come into the province, like operationally, legislation, everything. So those are the key partners that within the province that are really helpful for the town to work with AI data centers. And then we also went through all the grant resources, both federally and provincially, and we identified two that are good for industry and two that are good for the municipality. We did go through these carefully because it's important to note that some grants, especially for industry, don't apply for international companies. So we ensured that these are the ones that can be used for international companies. And then finally, we looked at the key market companies. So you have two little columns here. So you have with market data and others. What that means is the ones that have market data, those are the ones that we have from all our market available data. These are the ones that are accounted for the most part. So you have Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Alibaba. Those are the big ones. Oracle, Meta, IBM, and SAP are also big, but there's not as much available data for their performance globally. But key insight here is the majority of the data center market is based in the Americas and Europe. So there's a lot of growth there. Okay, so that was basically the first phase that we did with the industry knowledge, and then we looked at, with having all that information, we looked at the investment capacity of the town itself. So the first step we did was we do the strategy and policy alignment. What we always do is go through the key documents like the NDP, the economic development strategy, any document that's relevant to pursuing industry growth, the land use bylaws, all those kind of things. There was no conflicts. Everything worked well with the industry. It was well aligned, and also the town itself, as you know, has added land uses in some of the zoning for AI data centers. And the second piece is industry legislation. So this is, just to note, this is not common with data centers. This is just sort of the one-offs, but we wanted to outline this in case, because some data centers, there's special circumstances. So these are kind of the special circumstances. The majority of data centers operate like a regular industrial development, but things like high electrical load requirements, off-grid power generation, because some data centers may create their own natural gas plant for power, so those kind of things. So those are all identified as some key things that you have to consider, but again, there's references to that with the provincial government for those things. And so this is the first part of here of alignment with the town. The first thing we look at is the land. So as you can see the map, we have two maps. This is the town map, and we also have the map of the county, and we looked at the surrounding available land around the town itself. These are the sites that we looked at. We went directly to these sites. We reviewed them, drove around them, looked at everything. And these are the sites that are within the county. So within both the town and the county, we found two candidate spaces. In the town itself, the first one we found was 85 acres. That is on the southwest corner there, by Highway 752. It was flat land. There was no need for extensive grading. It's service to the property line. Future development district, some of it might have to be converted to another development district. And there's a little bit of land on the south for the county for expansion. The second candidate space, and again, these are, by the way, these are for small data centers because they're within under about 100 acres, right? The second space is the parcel that's about, it's more on the east side. It's between the cemetery and some of the industrial there. We looked at that. That's 123 acres. This had sufficient space to accommodate the data center, but there was just a few things we had to just ensure as far as a few challenges. It's not as easily accessible as the west side parcel because there's not a road going in, but putting a road probably wouldn't be too difficult. It would need that. And it is heavily forested. It has some marshes, so it would have some grading required on the land there. And the east side is zone residential, so if that was to be wanted to use expansion, you have to look at converting the zoning on that space. And there's no surrounding county space for expansion, but that's fine for a smaller data center that should fit. And then the two candidate sites in the county. The first one you look at is D&E. That is on the southwest corner on Highway 11. There's two parcels there. That one was really good because those two spaces combined were good because they had road access to the south side, they're flat land. There's about 20% of his forest, so there's not a lot of grading required, and the services kind of reach right up to there. And then the other one was, the second one, the county space, was out here on the northwest corner, and that is the space, I think, after there's the no-frills over here. So there's between the no-frills and the water treatment plant, right, around there. And the good one about, the benefit of that space is it's expandable with the current zoning that the county has to another 1,100 acres. That can be converted into industrial and expanded. So that one's easily developable. Of course, it has huge expansion. And the closest servicing to the town's a little farther off. It's about 2 quarter sections away, but it's not too far, right? And the only thing you have to consider is maybe some of the setbacks for the lagoons, but that's about it. So those would be the 2 sites in the town and the 2 sites in the county we found from a land perspective. And then, based on the operational needs, the next part we looked at in the town was the regional utilities and labor. So Fortis is your electricity provider. The regional grid has a surplus of 15 to 30 megawatts for additional use. That well satisfies a small data center. And they can accommodate another transformer for another 30 megawatts. Just to note that if, for expansion, if that was to happen, because they have to go through legislation, it takes 2 to 3 years for that expansion. So if there was a data center that wanted to come in and could use the existing capacity, but wanted to grow, that was something we'd recommend that you start as fast as possible with Fortis. And then for data providers. So for data provider, there's Clearwater County. Actually, they have excellent fiber system. So we connected with TELUS, Rogers, and Clearwater County. TELUS we did not get a response from, so we didn't have any data from them. From Rogers, they have fiber going through the town. The only thing with Rogers is they don't have a strong connection to the trunk line going from Edmonton to Calgary, so that would be a little bit of a challenge with Rogers. But the good thing is Clearwater County has an excellent, substantial bandwidth capacity, up to 1.6 terabytes. As from what I know, I think they have the best fiber infrastructure in Western Canada for a county. So yeah, it's quite extensive. They have tons of lines. They have tons of dark fiber, which is just the fiber without ends on it that they can rent out. They have tons of bandwidth they can use, and they can run it everywhere. So that's a rare thing to have from a county perspective. So they would easily satisfy that piece. And then the water utility, the water's good. From the water utility in the town, it can run up to another 70% of population, so capacity is excellent there. But there's not really a huge water need with data centers, so that's not a strong concern there. And then finally there's the regional labor supply. So what we did is we took a catchment area for the regional labor supply. We took the town, we took the county, and then we took, for example, Sylvan Lake and Red Deer, because there is about a 10 to 15% population of those municipalities that will drive 45 minutes to an hour for work. So we took them and included them within the labor catchment. And there was a strong concentration of post-secondary graduates, well-educated within that catchment. So there's a decent supply of skilled labor to suit the data center operations. So that was basically the operational piece that we looked at the capacity of the town and compared it, aligned it with the data centers. So at the end of everything, our capacity analysis for the feasibility of the town, it has a really strong potential to support small capacity data centers and aligns well with the infrastructure and all the operational needs. That would be our recommendation. And large data scales, unfortunately, aren't as feasible because of the high operational demands and the large amounts of land that they require. And legislation market conditions are both really favorable. So just to note that, like again, I mentioned before, most developed data center developments operate as regular industrial developments, right? They don't really need any special needs in case but there isn't, as we highlighted before, sometimes there's those extra legislations. And the data center industry as a whole is growing, and it's pretty strong. So it's a good sector to go after, generally. And because operational requirements are really the key factor, the town's really well positioned to support all of that. And then finally what we did is we put both small capacity data centers and the large scale ones into a table showing what they need operationally and how the town satisfies that. And as you can see, for land, electricity, data, water, and labor, it satisfies everything. For the land, it has the candidate spaces. For the electricity, for a small center that requires 3,200, there's an extra 30 of capacity with Fortis. For the data, same thing, requires high capacity. The county can supply that. The water is sufficient, and the labor supply is available. Then we did another one just showing a quick view of a large-scale capacity center. Again, it can't satisfy the large amounts of land needed. Electricity also needs a lot more electricity than is available. It can supply the data and the water, but the labor also might be a bit of a challenge because it's a larger labor requirement. So finally, our general recommendations, outside of course recommending that the town is very well suited for a smaller data center, is just basically to proactively go after the target center companies, data center companies, promoting all the strengths that the town has, with its infrastructure and everything. Coordinate any land expansion with the county if there's any future annexation or through the ISP. Again, that might be longer term, of course. Spending for data center might require more land or have interest in one of those other candidate spaces. And then for the electricity grid expansion, again, as I mentioned, if a data center is interested, they can operate now, but if they want some expansion, expanding the transformer would take a few years. That would just be something you have to address early on. And then strengthen the relationship with the key provincial and federal partners. That one's a really important one. I say that because stakeholders like Invest Alberta, Alberta Innovates, all those organizations, they have a lot of connections and with international companies, and all those clients come to them. And so when stakeholders like Invest Alberta or Invest in Canada have a client that's looking, if they're not aware of any municipality that has availability for a data center, they have to go search, and that's a hard search when they're going across the province as a whole, without having a candidate sort of available immediately, right? And the only last recommendation is just to leverage the municipal grants and the support grant investments that exist for industry. And that was our presentation. Thank you. Does anyone in council have any questions at all?
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. There's
No
lots
problem.
of good information in there, and I see Councillor Schippold has a question.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I got a few questions.
Yeah.
The first one is your reference to catchment area of 8 municipalities, you named 4.
Oh, sorry.
But you got 8 in here. What was where all did you go for the catchment area?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I can check on the report if you like. But I think we took Sylvan, we took City of Red Deer, we took the county, and there was a few more towns that we added onto there. And that was the catchment area. About 10 to 15% of those spaces was based on drivability from StatsCan. But they should be listed in the report, sir. I just don't remember the 8 in total off the top of my head.
Any idea what the population of that catchment area is?
No. Also, sorry, in the report. Did you want me? I can check for you though.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. The second question I have is the word no is not a happy word.
Right.
And so you have in here, when you talk about large-scale data centers, you said that we're not suited for large. And also, so when you look at the large, it has the land, availability of 500 to 1,000 acres, and you say no. I would question that word no in there,
Okay.
because I think it's possible.
Correct.
And if I'm looking at this and I'm giving it to somebody who's looking at developing in our area and they see the word no, regardless of what size they're starting at, their intent will be to grow. So that word no doesn't excite me.
Okay.
The second part, when you talk about electricity, often these do on-site power production. And so because we don't have a power line coming in here, there can still be power availability on-site, or they can make their own power on-site.
Correct.
But you got the word no,
Right.
and I'm not excited about the word no,
Okay.
because I want to track somebody, not chase them away.
Right.
This document with the word no doesn't make me excited.
Okay.
So I challenge you on this document, whether it's correct or not, okay?
Okay.
Because I think the word no is a hard word,
Okay.
possibly any other word, but the word no, to me, doesn't, when I give it to somebody that says, no, you can't do this, really is saying, well, no, you can't do it. There are
Okay.
possibilities, you even indicate yourself. Power
Yes.
could be 3 years down the road, but it's a possibility in terms of possibly getting permitting from the province or doing whatever. So I think I just,
If,
I challenge that.
no problem, and I completely understand, if council wanted, we can adjust some of the verbiage on that in the presentation itself. But just to address a few things you mentioned, in regards to land, so when we generally deal with investment companies, and this is, I have really good experience with bringing international companies into the province. When typically companies come in looking for a candidate, they are looking for candidate spaces that are immediately available. They're looking to develop within a year or two. To expand on the power, it's through AESO, it's a 2 to 3 year process to ask for transformer expansion that you have to do with the company. So that's 3 years down the road that you could get expansion on power. With the land, and that was, I would leave that entirely in your hands. If on annexation or agreements you have with the county, you were able to get the larger tracts of land for 500 to 1,000 acres quickly, then yeah, absolutely a strong possibility. But I guess we could say in a different way, we could say that the companies are looking for something that's available within a year. If it's 2 to 3 years out, companies typically aren't that interested because there's too many variables, right? The land that you are looking to get with the county may or may not be able to be annexed. It could take longer. The power application for expansion can take 2 to 3 years. All those kind of things. It's difficult for them then to come in with a large capital investment when that's not sort of online and ready to go. And that's why we're just saying, I guess a better description would be say no today, in the future, absolutely. But if we're looking for direct candidate spaces immediately, then I would say that's why we recommend the small data centers compared to the large ones. But we can definitely, change that in report and saying that it is for future availability, it does exist.
Did you have further questions?
I do, because then further on in your report, it goes on to say that large-scale facilities are not currently feasible due to their high operational demands.
Correct.
Page 3.
Oh,
So
yeah.
here again, not feasible. I think it goes back to the word no. I just, there's a soft way of putting that, and when you put not feasible.
Okay, and Councillor, like I said, if council wanted, we can adjust that to say for future, it's feasible for, in the future with expansion, as opposed to not feasible. But when we were describing, it was saying not feasible today, not necessarily not feasible at all. Our apologies if that was understood that way, yeah.
That's how I read it.
Okay. If council would like, we could make those adjustments.
I would think that's a good adjustment to have in there.
Okay.
More questions, Councillor Shippold? If not, Councillor Musker has his light on.
I'll let Councillor Moose
Okay.
go ahead.
We'll go with Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. In your interviews with the industry, 2 industry proponents, would you say that they were interested in bringing their own power, or it hinged on having available Fortis power?
With those two, they were very much hinged on having, sorry, not hinged, they were very much dependent on having their own existing power for the most part. Just for the fact that the few data centers that do use their own power will use gas powered if they can, and that depends, then that becomes a large legislative process, right? Because where's the gas coming from? It has to go through the power authorities, energy regulator, all that stuff. So all those large processes and legislation requirements are kind of a deterrent for industry. They're very much looking for sort of be able to land and operate quickly, right? Yeah.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, and Councillor Shippold, you had more questions.
I do. On page 80 of your report, you got a graph in there, shows the amount of AI facilities throughout the world, other than Canada and Alberta.
Okay.
Where does Canada stand compared to the rest of the world? I can't believe it wouldn't be in there. Or furthermore, where does Alberta stand in
Okay.
Canada? And so there's nowhere in here that information is available.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering if that could get,
We can look, I'm just gonna ask, Andrew, did we have that data available, do you remember? No?
Not for provincial data, but
Okay.
they did have some national data
Okay,
that
We can look at? Okay, yeah, because we have, I mean, we're subscribed to large data subscriptions, industry data subscriptions, but unfortunately in certain industries, there's more data and some less, so we typically pull as much as we can. We can see if, what Andrew said, we don't have any specific inventory for Alberta, but we can see if we can pull for Canada. That part of the presentation is more so just to show globally where the industry stands within North America. But that was most of what we could pull for Canada, but we can double check to see if we can get some inventory for Canada data centers.
It's just unfortunate Canada's not in there, because there's like, what, 15 countries in there, Canada not being one.
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the kind of the data we could pull generally. There's a lot of countries that also don't have data available. So that's very much the data we're able to pull, again, from a large data subscription service. We will always find with some industries and sectors, some industries will have a good example is agriculture. We'll have very specific industry breakdowns, and then you'll have other industries where it's very general and broad. So, you know, but we can look into see if we can find inventory for Canada.
Thank you. And just on a positive note, there is actually 2 pages about Alberta at the back about programs, so you did manage to sneak a little bit of Alberta in there. So thanks for that.
No problem.
But there are holes, so.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other questions right now? So I do have one question. You had mentioned Invest Alberta and Alberta Innovates.
Right.
Is that should we decide to go down this road, is that the best first step? to
Yeah,
connect with
absolutely.
those two?
I would say so. They're a lot more stronger than the ministry, because their sole job is to bring international business. So they have quite a few leads of all kinds of sectors, and because the province is focused on data centers, that they have a focus on it too.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they're the ones working with, I'm sure you probably heard of that project that with O'Leary Ventures are looking up in Greenview County. They're the ones working with that. So I definitely would say that'd be a first step, talking to them. But because the capacity of the town is really good, it's good to kind of get on the map with them and let them know that you're available and you're interested in data centers. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? Okay, I am not seeing any, so thank you very much for coming in this morning. You had a very detailed presentation. Thank you for coming in. Do you have any final words for us?
No, thank you for giving us the opportunity to do the study, and we're glad to keep on assisting the town where needed.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so moving on our agenda, on item 4.11, we have a request for decision on a data center study. Mr. Kraus.
It's item 6.1. The RFD is there for council's information, but. the
Okay, it's just for council
discussion and
information, so we
decisions
don't
at
need to do
6.1.
anything with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then we are gonna move on to our second delegation, Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Colson. Yep. Great timing. So just a reminder, when you do talk, just press the button, and that allows everything to be live streamed. So we are ready for your presentation, so whichever one of you wants to start off.
Okay, thank you for meeting with us. What we're here for this morning is to discuss a utility bill that's been going for about over a year. The property in question is a building that I own at the bottom of Main Street. We've owned the building for a number of years. We've had a number of different renters in this property over the years. It was vacant for a few months back in 2024, and in July of 24, we had a new renter, which is Angela. And so what happened is Angela moved in August and was setting up the premises to open her business, which opened up in September of that year. And something happened in August where the water bill spiked tremendously. Like I think we've showed you, sent out copies of the water bill. But in the month of August, the water bill spiked up to just the dollar amount, Angela. The water bill went to basically, I'm gonna round off, $1,000. Subsequently, since that time, from September to August of this year, the water bill is usually about $140, $150. So something happened in that month. The problem is, we cannot tell you what happened. And that's, and we've tried talking to the town people before, the Public Works, and we haven't been able to come up with a solution. So when I talked to them, they said we have to come back to council. So I guess we apologize for taking so long, but here we are. And so I think that sums it up pretty much.
Okay. Do we have any questions of Mr. Kennedy or Angela? Councillor Schimmel.
I get, just,
Yeah, you can just
oh,
leave it on,
okay.
yeah.
Just so you know, maybe you don't know, what Angela runs is she runs just a small, a one-person catering business where she does subs and those kind of subs and whatnot, so.
Okay, Councillor Schimmel.
I just want clarity. We're looking at 249 cubes. Would that be correct, Mr. Kraus, as to what went through there in that month?
Yeah.
So Akimera to Councillor Shipple, yeah, so 249 cubes. Where normal usage is 4 from previous readings.
Go ahead, Councillor, you had another question?
What's the dollar amount of that amount of cubes? I mean, there's the other costs in there and they don't separate it out. So what would the actual, is it $443 or, because there's a water fee and then there's a sewage fee as well. So the water fee is four,
Yeah.
2,
And then the sewer fee would be a percentage of the water fee, correct, Mr.
that's
Kraus?
correct, yeah.
thank you.
The only question I have, there's no, like, there was no way of determining if this was a building issue or a town issue. There's no way of determining that.
No, like,
Okay.
I guess if we had a broken water line, we would have water all over the place.
Yes.
Sorry. If it would have been a broken line, we would have had water all over the place. The other thing is you don't really get broken water lines in August. Like I said, we have no explanation for it. That's basically the long and the short of it. I guess we are looking for sympathy, but the problem that Angela has, or the challenge that Angela has, is she's a small business trying to make it a go of it, and to hit with a $900 water bill right off the hop before she really even has her business up and operational is a hardship for her. Basically, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, it's definitely not an ideal situation for sure, no. And Deputy Mayor, did you have a question?
Yeah, just so in August, was there somebody in the building from August 1st to the end of the month?
I was moving into the building. We hadn't even set up my second sink or anything at that point. We were moving just big equipment in, like shelving and fridges, and there was no real water usage. I use more water right now, and my bill is pretty normal on a monthly basis. I have a boyfriend that has very good math skills, not so much as me, or like, I'm not as good as him, but to break that water bill down, that's 249,000 liters in 7 days. The meter lady managed to catch me outside and said, like, you had a spike, and it was in exactly 7 days, that whole spike. She showed me on her graph, which I don't have that in the bills, right? But those 7 days, it was over a cube a day. There's no way possible that a cube of water could have went through a toilet It has a small leak right now, and it's still not affecting my bill right now. So it just doesn't make sense. She's like, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, I don't know, because I was still moving things in. She caught me on one of the days I was moving in, so I don't know. Like, I've tested it out. To fill a 1 gallon pail residentially, it takes 30 seconds, but, which is 8 liters per minute. There's no way you could possibly do that through a toilet. I don't get that. So something's happened somewhere. Like, was it a miscalculation of the meter read, or how do you go from normal, one spike in 1 week and then just normal again?
I just asked that because we experienced the same thing.
Okay.
And we've got a shop in town, and it was the toilet that you couldn't see it continually flowing. You know how you flush a toilet and you can see the water moving, but it was the toilet. And we replaced it, we fixed it, and same thing, we had the spike in 7 days, 8 days, whatever it was. It's unfortunate. We had to pay our bill. You know, I'm sympathetic with you, because like I said, we saw the bill as well, and it was like, holy man. I was very thankful that our staff, that town staff, do notice that there's spikes and differences in the metered rates and actually acted upon it, because it could have been, you know, sometimes there's nobody in our place either for a week or two, and it could have been a double, triple what the bill was. And unfortunately, it was something that we had to cover ourselves, because there was, like, as Acting Mayor said, there was no way of actually determining if it was the town or if it was us. But then when we replaced the toilet, the problem was solved.
That's the thing. I haven't replaced the toilet, nothing. Like, that's it. It's still the same as it was the day I moved in, so, or as I was moving in. Nothing's changed. We haven't fixed nothing, so.
Okay, I have Councillor Shippold, and then Councillor Musker was trying to get his light on.
Thank you to Mr. Kraus. What's our policy on this? This isn't the first time we've had this before, so we must have a written policy on how administrations to act on this.
Yeah, so basically, if the water goes through the meter, then it's up to the owner to pay for that water. We see this all the time. If I go back to the day or the read, you know, at this time, you know, there was 21 accounts that's shown spikes. And actually, there's some just similar that went up to like 250. And those property owners paid the utility bill.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kraus. Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So there's a lot of good information here, but what is your ask?
The ask is to not pay that high of a bill. I was still moving in the building, like, that's like a kick in the, you know what, in the pants, so. And like I said, we haven't fixed the toilet or nothing. I just don't understand how it can jump that high in 7 days.
Go ahead.
Okay, and that's fine, but what are you asking of council today?
I'm just-
Specifically?
I'm personally asking that it goes back to like what it followed the whole entire time, that bill. Like every month has been pretty consistent, and other than that 1 week, I'm just kind of hoping that we can bring it right back down to that, because that's a bill that is not affordable.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, I am not seeing any other questions, so thank you very much for coming in and you know, keeping us apprised of what's going on here. Of course, we'll discuss this further on in the agenda, but thank you for coming in and presenting. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on our agenda, we're looking at the adoption of the previous minutes. We have the minutes here from the August 5th meeting. Is there anything anyone needs to change, any errors or omissions? If not, just looking for a motion to accept those minutes. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I'll make the motion to adopt the regular council meeting minutes of August 5th, 2025.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. So, moving on to delegation business. 6.1, the data center feasibility. Mr. Kraus, are you handling that one?
Yep, thank you. So council has received the presentation on the feasibility study. I believe with the discussion with council, they're going to amend that study to not soften it up, I guess, is the proper terminology. And then we'll bring it back to council with an amendment for council to accept. I know administration has made a request to council, if council accepted the study, that the consultants develop a 2-page information bulletin that we can use to send to data firms to at least spark interest. And of course, if council accepts the study, we'll work with Invest Alberta and so forth and start that process.
Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I would like to see the study tweaked a bit in terms of it's got some hard no's in there, which I think aren't as accurate as the word no portrays. So I would just like to maybe just have a look at it and then bring it back, and then at that point move forward with part 2 of the process.
So do we need to make a motion then today to bring this back, or?
Yep, that administration bring back an amended study
Okay.
for council's consideration.
Okay, is someone prepared? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson?
No, I wasn't going to make that motion. I think it would be, the whole data center buzz that's happening across the province. I think the sooner we can get working on it, the better. I agree on tweaking that, but I think it would be advantageous for us to start working on a 2-sided investment type sheet or something as the recommended action is in the agenda for us, just to get ahead on it. The information's not going to change when we get back the report, but I would make the recommended motion. First, be it resolved that council direct administration to contract a consultant at a cost of up to $2,000 to create a 1-page 2-sided investment sheet to help attract a data center within Rocky Mountain House from the remaining council priority reserve funds of $20,000.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the table. Discussion on that motion. Councillor Woosker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I agree with Deputy Mayor Hutchinson. The 2-sided sheet, investment sheet could include the tweaks. Let's get moving on it.
Okay, more discussion on that motion? Yeah, I agree as well. I would like to see us getting moving on this sooner than later, and the tweaks can be added into the 2-page as well. So I'm not seeing any other discussion, so I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to item 6, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
We still need a motion to accept or
Either-
amend the,
Either accept the feasibility study as amended or bring it back for council for final approval.
Okay.
Direction
Thank
for
you.
admin on that.
Thank you,
so.
Deputy Mayor, for that clarification. Is someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Shippold.
Yes, I'll make that motion. Do we bring it back with the tweaks to approve at the next council meeting, hopefully?
That would be September council, would that? Okay. Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, now moving on to item 6.2, the delegation business about the water bill. Discussion on this one. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I just don't see that it's something that I would be willing to support paying their bill. I've dealt with it, as I said myself. It could have been something as simple as somebody flushed the toilet and the little handle stuck, the float stuck, and it ran for 7 days before someone went in again. So I'm not prepared to, I would be prepared just to accept the delegation as information.
Are you making that motion then?
Sure.
You are making that motion. Okay, so we do have a motion on the table then. Discussion still on this motion now. Councillor Capurro.
I'm struggling with this one. It's tough. You know that there's, like, that's a lot of water to go through that building in a short amount of time. I guess my question would be to Mr. Kraus, when we've had this situation arise before, when it gets remediated, is it usually because the person who's had this leak, have they had to change toilets, or is there something that they've had to do to correct it? Whereas this one seemed to correct itself on its own.
So every month when we do reads, our staff go through and they identify accounts that had a spike, and they actually contact either the property owner or the tenant to go through it. So, and like I said, if you go through the ones on this case, I mean, there's one resident who went from 20 cubes to 229 cubes. You know, so it's not uncommon because of a running toilet. And the meters don't spike and fix themselves. Either a meter goes or it doesn't. And if the tenant is questioning, or the owner is questioning whether the meter is reading properly, they can request for us to take out that meter and send it for testing. And if it tests that it's acting normal, then they're charged for that test plus the water. If it's tests and something's wrong with the meter, then it's all corrected. That is rare. Like a meter doesn't jump and whatever, and they go pretty even. So, but historically, it's always been, if the water has gone through the meter, then it is the responsibility of the owner to pay for that water. It's just like if you leave a light on and go away for 2 weeks, you're still responsible for the power, right? I mean, it's up to the owner to maintain the system with their building. And it, you know, if council wants to waive it, that, you know, that's entirely within council's purview. But then administration will be asking, okay, so how do we handle this in the future? You know, how do we determine who to refund and who not? You know, if someone does a large spike because they really watered their lawn, you know, and say it might have been a toilet, do we refund that? You know, so it gets into a very hard gray area, so.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kraus. Councillor Booster.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, like Councillor Capurro said, this is a tough one, but not really. If it goes through the meter, it's not a town water delivery issue. Something happened on the other side of that meter, which we don't know. That said, would this council consider any kind of goodwill on this bill? For example, the waiving of the late penalties.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Well, as I said, from my own experience, if that's the case, then I will certainly dig out my bill from the past, because ours was in a shop and it was double what this was. Unfortunately, it happened. I was feeling the exact same way as they were, and I wasn't very nice to the town. It was before council, before council time. But, you know, that's your first reaction. That's how that's what you do. And same thing, you know, we thought there was no possible way in the world that running toilet could ever make that difference. I've gotten wise since then. I had one at home, noticed a change, not much. Did the food coloring in my tank to see which one toilet was leaking. Unfortunately, that's our problem inside our own buildings, so I wouldn't consider that either.
Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I too have had the occasional bill that spikes like that, and it doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. I think the town is diligent in doing what they have to do and letting citizens know if they have high volume usage, and I think kudos to the town for taking the time to do that. And as Mr. Kraus indicated, there was over 20 on that billing cycle that the town had notified. I think that in itself is, you know, worthy of saying, hey, we do our diligence from a town perspective. So it's unfortunate when it happens. I've sat around this table before where we've had situations exactly the same, and unfortunately, it's a hard no. Because where do you draw the line? There's 21 or 20, whatever Mr. Kraus had indicated, that could all come knocking on our door saying, how about me? So even if you move a smidgen, you've opened a door. So I don't think we dare open a door on this one.
And I agree with Deputy Mayor Hutchinson and Councillor Schipple. It's unfortunate, and I feel for the tenant that this happened to. It's not an ideal situation. However, it's not a town issue, it's a building issue. And when it's a building issue, unfortunately, it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's part of, having a building and maintaining it and making sure that everything is running properly. Okay, so we do have the motion on the floor. Any other discussion or questions on the motion? Okay, so the motion is to accept this as information. I will call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to item 7.1, the amending bylaw land use bylaw 2025-06.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Phillips.
It's actually my,
Sorry.
just to come back to amending bylaw 2025-06, no comments were received from the public hearing. Administration has received no comments. Administration is recommending that council consider second and third reading.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? Councillor Schipple.
I would make the motion if you'd allow me,
Yep.
Acting Mayor. Let it resolve the council give second reading to amending the bylaw 2025/6 to amend the land use bylaw 2020-19.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And Councillor Caprero.
Thank you. I'll make the third motion here. Be it resolved that council give third and final reading to amending bylaw 2025/06.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that one? Call it to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, now we're going to move on to item
you, Council.
7.2, the FCSS draft agreement. Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So as council is aware, this agreement was before council previously. Then it also went forward to Clearwater County Council. They came back with asking for clarification or amendment to section 21, which is the board shall inform and seek advice and comment from the ICC on the establishment of new programs, and it's been amended to clarify that are directly and solely provided by FCSS after the budget has been approved. And this amendment went back to ICC for discussion, and with their recommendation that it come back up to councils for ratification of the agreement. This clause is typical in our intermunicipal agreements. For example, in fire service, after the budget is passed, or if a new service is being suggested, it has to come back for consideration of ICC and councils.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kraus. Do we have any discussion on the FCSS agreement? Not seeing any discussion. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'll make that motion. Be it resolved, the council approve the draft FCSS agreement as presented.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And moving on to item 8.1, the amending bylaw 2025/14. See Mr. Fitzsimmons and Mrs. Hartling coming. And I'm guessing Mr. Fitzsimmons is going to take this one.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Phillips, Council. We have before you an application to amend the land use bylaw for Lot 4, Plan 407TR. The amendments would be, a portion of the land would be amended from reserved for future development district to rural residential. And then also there's a 0.64 acre portion south of those rural residential lots. That'd be amended from future residential to environmental open space district. Currently, the applicants have gone through the subdivision application process. Subdivision was approved. One of the conditions of that approval, or before it can be endorsed, the parcels need to be redesignated to rural residential. So that's why the application's being brought before council today. If first reading is given, public hearing would be scheduled for September 16th at 9 a.m. We reviewed the application. The applicants would like to redesignate portions of the land to the rural residential district. We do feel it meets the municipal development plans goals for that area. They did have it designated for residential, parcels designated for residential acreages. So we feel that the applicant's proposal is meeting the goals of the municipal development plan. So we're recommending council give first reading to bylaw 2025/14 and to schedule a public hearing for September 16th. Happy to answer any questions. Anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzsimmons. Do we have any questions currently? Councillor Shippold.
At what point do we determine if there's building locations on these parcels due to the low-lying land that's in there? Where do we determine that, or do we even determine that? Do we worry about that, or is it?
Through Acting Mayor Phillips to Councillor Shippold. The applicant's intent right now is to go through the subdivision process and to just redesignate the land at this moment, and then eventually sell the parcels of land to an applicant. Normally, the location, like where the buildings are going to go, gets determined through the development permit stage when an applicant's ready to set up.
Through Acting Mayor to Council Shippold. Just so you're aware, one of the conditions of the subdivision as well had that the most westerly portion, which is the low-lying area in particular, is to be designated as environmental easement. So it would be contained within the parcel, but there'd be restrictions for development on that environmental easement portion. The surveyor is required to go in and determine the portion that would be designated as environmental easement on the subject parcels.
So that as per the new provincial legislation where low-lying areas can't be built upon or disturbed or whatever, so that's all part and parcel of that process?
That's right. It would go on, it would be registered on title as a caveat, like as an environmental easement, registered encumbrance.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Caprero.
No questions. I just think development is a positive thing. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and make a motion. Be it resolved that council give first reading to amending bylaw 2025/14, a bylaw to amend the Town of Rocky Mountain House Municipal Development Plan, bylaw 2020/20, and the Town of Rocky Mountain House Land Use Bylaw, bylaw 2020/19 as presented, and that administration set the public hearing date for September 16th at 9 a.m. in council chambers.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call out to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Moving on to 8.2, the remuneration policy 002/2025.
Good morning, Acting Mayor and Council. So before you is the last iteration of the council remuneration policy, hopefully. Both administration and council have spent a considerable amount of time updating and reviewing this policy, while a consultant was hired and used to review and compare compensation and benefits with other municipalities that were similar in size, population, and council responsibilities. So duly elected municipal councils both provide leadership and service through governance. The salary and benefits they receive attempt to strike a balance between adequate compensation for the work that is required of a public official, the call to serve one's community, and fiscal responsibility to town taxpayers. Not all duties and commitments can be identified and actual time, nor can the level of responsibility that is required to properly handle all functions of an elected official be assessed on a daily rate. So the policy before you stipulates that a comprehensive review of salaries, honorariums, and expenses will take place every term of council to review and maintain that balance. The main differences between the two policies, the old one and the one proposed, are highlighted in the table in the report. These differences range from removing the $100 monthly phone allowance to now including a per diem duration to cover meetings that are less than 2 hours. Another big difference is that all council and all GPC, Governance and Priority Committee meetings, are now moved under an honorarium, and they won't be paid a per diem. So the monthly rate for those honorariums will reflect the amount of the approximately 33 council meetings that council attends in a year. So there's also 2 appendices that have been attached with the intent of covering every type of meeting, course, attendance at different events, with the hopes of making it easier for both administration and council members to clearly see what is covered either under an honorarium or per diem. So administration is recommending that this policy be approved and the old policy be rescinded.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Breeze, for that report. Any discussion on the policy that we have in front of us? If not, just looking for a motion for this policy. Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'll make that motion. Be it resolved, the council approve council remuneration policy 002/2025 effective October 21st, 2025, and rescind council remuneration policy 006/2018.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to item 9.1, the correspondence for action, the Rocky Rod and Gun Club, September 7th grand opening. So this is an invitation. I actually did receive an email from Jane Henderson about this. I am able to attend this event and give a speech. So I don't think we need a motion for that, or do we need a motion? Yep. Okay. Okay, is someone prepared to make that motion that any council member that wants to attend this can? Councilor, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that if any councillor wishes to attend the grand opening invitation for Rocky Rod and Gun Club, do so.
Okay, thank you very much for that motion. Discussion, all those in favor, and that is carried. 9.2, the National Police Federation letter. They're looking or wondering if we would like to have a meeting with them. Is this something that we would like to do, Councillor Shippold?
Understanding that the study we did said RCMP are our go-to, I think we should have hear them out, see what they have to say. It'll be interesting as to what their take is on what's been going on. I'm sure they're well aware that we went through a study, and so I would be inclined that we should invite them to a council meeting.
Okay, what does the rest of council think on that? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I agree. I think that it's always, the more communication we have with all parties involved is a great idea, so I would be in favor of that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, policing is going to be a evolving topic of discussion over the next number of years. So I think the more information that we can have as a council, the better decisions we can make. So then, are we looking for a motion to accept this and create a meeting date? Okay, so I'm just looking for a motion to reflect that. Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I also move that we accept their letter that they forwarded to us and further request them to attend a council meeting in the future.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. So the next one is municipal affairs. Of course, AB Munis is coming up again in the fall here, and They are wondering if we want to have a meeting with the minister, correct? Yeah. Now, considering the fact that this is a brand-new Minister of Municipal Affairs, that none of us have met before, I think this is something that we would like to I think we should take advantage of this, meet with him, just because he's a brand-new minister and we'd like to get to meet him. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I would agree. I would like to meet him as well, but, you know, when they're looking at, you know, those time slots are always very precious to municipalities. And I kind of struggled to find 3 topics for discussion that aren't any different than any other. I mean, there's always infrastructure deficit, there's always, you know, the housing, healthcare. I don't know, like, what thoughts do council have on what we would put down for discussion items?
Councillor Shippold.
I think all that stuff's important, but most importantly is to put Rocky Mountain House top of mind in his mind, so that if the word comes up, he knows who we are, where we're located, and what we're inclined to be doing here. So I think that, to me, is the number 1 priority, is just getting top of mind. And then secondly would be all the other peripheral stuff around that.
Yeah, I agree with it. Whenever we can get a meeting with the minister, we take advantage of it and we can sort out the details of what we want to discuss in that meeting, but I think setting the meeting is the first step. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Well, it's not that I don't, you know, I do agree with you all, but again, we do have to provide topics for discussion. And that has to be a decision of council. What are our topics of discussion going to be? What is top of mind with us right now? You know, we made a lot of waves and we've gotten work through transportation on our highways improved. I know the funding is always short, but is there specifics? Like, that's my point, is we need to have some topics going in.
Councillor Shippold.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor. Possibly administration can come up with items that they feel are of concern, so we can put that into their department to look at.
I mean, I can think of, you know, obviously there's LGFF funding, which is constantly a topic of conversation. The whole policing discussion that we're talking about now and potential sites for, you know, for academies and such. And as Councillor Shippold alluded to, we want to get there and we want to put Rocky Mountain House in his mind. That's the whole idea. I know the previous minister, MacGyver, once referred to us as sharks, because we were there and we were present in his face, and that was good. That's a good compliment to have. So I think we can come up with these agenda items. We still have time, because to September 12th is I think is the deadline, but I think we want to get the date set for sure. Mr. Kraus, do you have advice for us?
Acting Mayor, so maybe just instruct administration to come back with topics for council's consideration at the next council meeting.
Yes.
And,
Okay.
and I'm sure council can also.
Yeah, we can sort them out. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Well, I appreciate admin saying that. My point being, these should be top of the list of this council. So as they will bring them back, I still think it's something that this council should be brainstorming and having, you know, something along the lines of our strat plan where, you know, economic development is a top priority. So again, I think we still need to share input and have input from this council.
And I think we will. Once these topic items come back, that'll be a topic discussion amongst council, and that'll give us time as well between now and this, the discussion, for us to come up with our priorities and bring them up and discuss as a council what we want to present. So then, Mr. Kraus, we're just looking for a motion to, yes, set up a date and then have a discussion on the topic items.
Just to bring this item back to council for
Okay. Someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Shippold.
I get some there. Thank you, Acting Mayor. I also make a motion that administration bring back a list of items at a future council meeting to discuss with the Minister of Municipal Affairs at the upcoming convention, Alberta Munis Convention.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Next is correspondence for information. We have 6 items for information. Is there anything in there that anyone needs to discuss or bring out? If not, just looking for a motion to accept these as information. Councillor Musker.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor. I have a question regarding 10.2 Ministerial Order, Rocky Senior Housing Council. I'm wondering if Deputy Mayor Hutchinson can just explain how this changes things and what it means.
Thanks. It was really just deleting Caroline out of our ministerial order because it had the 3 parties. So we've now obviously taken Caroline out and changed it hasn't changed the structure of the board. It's still town and county council and then members at large. So that was basically it. Unfortunately, it took a long time for that to come through, but it's here now, so.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, again, just looking for a motion to accept as information. Councillor Caprero.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept for information 10.1 to 10.6.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. So we'll move on to the activity reports for Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So the reports are before council from each department, so if council has any questions, we'd be happy to try and answer.
And do we have, see, Councillor Shippold has a question.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. On the disc golf, there's no date for completion in the date column for completion. Any idea when that completion date may be?
I'm going to have Mr. Ament answer that because I know the equipment's here and we've been brushing, but
through Acting Mayor Phillips to Councillor Shippold. We've done some tree clearing and mulching for the 9 holes on the town portion of the course. We're just making arrangements to have the disc golf baskets installed. I know our staff have been very busy with other events in and around town, so we're at that stage of putting in the 9 disc golf baskets for the 9 holes, hopefully completed in the next couple of weeks. And then we're working with our comms people to assist us with signage development. And yeah, so, I mean, we're very close. The Central Alberta Disc Golf Associations have been in and put baskets in. They've gone in, they've played the course, they're excited about it. It will be a challenging course because it's in through the trees, but, hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be able to get the public in and trial it, and then once all the signage is in, I believe that being said, the school division, I believe, is meeting, I think, today, and we'll revisit the possibility of having 9 holes on school division land as well.
Okay. I did have not a meeting, but at the Kamikawa, when the kids came over and we had a little get-together with the students, the new superintendent was there of the school, and I had a chat with her, just introducing myself, and made the disc golf part of the conversation. So I know that she's aware of what's going on, and it definitely is part of their conversation. So.
Yeah. So we're moving forward with the 9 holes. I expect within the next couple of weeks the baskets will be in place and people can go out and give it a try, and then we'll finalize the signage. Working with Central Alberta Disc Golf Association, there is an app that you can download on your phone called UDisc, which will also, people can log in, they'll see the course map, they can keep score and all that stuff digitally, so.
Good. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Kraus on Councillor Shippold?
Just one on wayfinding signs. In this, the final cost is 147,000. Is that the final cost, or is that, did we add money to that number, and it's just not included in this?
No, we did, council did add $20,000 to that number, so we'll need to correct that column in the report.
And is there an update as to when we can anticipate seeing the first sign up? I'm so excited to have a look at them.
I'm gonna have Ms. Button answer that.
Hi, council. I don't have an answer for you, but I know it's close, certainly the end of this month or early September. We're doing the final proofing of the sign content right now.
Do you have any idea how many signs we'll see on this first kick?
It's 6 major, 4 secondary. I would have to verify.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Musker has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. A couple of questions. From the Operations and Engineering report, runway lights at the airport are experiencing failures. I wonder if you could elaborate on that.
Yep, so we have some runway lights that are going off and they're brand new. So they have consulted with the firm that supplied them. They are being tested and being replaced, and to figure out why that is happening. So it's under warranty.
Warranty, perfect.
So we
Thank
are
you.
pursuing that.
And another question from the report from Protective Services. Just give me a minute here. It has to do with bylaw enforcement, which I think is really great that we're enforcing our bylaws. But it had to do with unsightly properties. There's a couple that a contractor has been hired to deal with, and I'm wondering if you could explain the process on that.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, to Councillor Musker. So basically, the process is we receive either an email, a phone call, or a written statement with a complaint on an unsightly property. The officers create a file. Once the files create, they contact the owner of the property and let them know that a complaint has come in and what the complaint is based on. Again, with the report, a lot of them are unsightly. They give them usually a time frame to rectify the situation. If they don't rectify it within a reasonable amount of time, so the bylaw says, I believe, 48 hours. We usually give them a bit more time than that, usually a week or two. If they don't see any, so basically they go back and inspect the site again. If it hasn't been cleaned up, then they either issue a ticket or some sort of order. It gives them a deadline saying, you need to clean it up by a certain amount of time. So it goes through a few iterations of contacting the homeowner, following up, and usually by the third time, which is usually at least a month, if not more, time in, we will contact a company in town to remedy the situation. So in this case, out of many files, we probably had 15, 20 unsightly properties. Two of the property owners decided basically just to ignore the order and not do anything about it within the timeline. So again, the contractor's been hired. We notified the property owner that we are gonna send in a contractor to rectify this. So they're, again, notified probably for a fourth time. Subcontractor goes in, then they send the receipt or bill to us, we pay it, and then we also send a copy of the bill to the homeowner. Because ultimately, they're responsible for that bill.
Okay, thank you. And if the property owner refuses to pay the bill, what happens then?
It's the 90-day rule. So once the bill hasn't been paid within 90 days, that bill gets transferred over to the taxes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions? If not, just looking for a motion to accept the activity reports as information. Councillor Busker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that we accept the activity reports for information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. We have the action list. Mr. Gross.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So to go through the open items, so the policing study, council's direction to send the service level, so that has been added to the agenda on service level. The second one was the councilor inquiry on vacant land mill rates, and council has asked that also to go to service level and has been added to that agenda. The third open one was that council bring back resolution 2024-582 to service level, so that's the vacant land on Main Street, so that also has been added to service level. And then the last one's the housing study, which is also being added to service level for discussion in 2026 budget considerations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kraus. Any questions for Mr. Kraus on the action list? Not, just looking for a motion to accept that as information. And Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I'll make the motion to accept the action list as presented.
Thank you for that. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. The administrative inquiries. Does anyone have any administrative inquiries today? Councillor Shippold.
I have a few. The first one is the Big Rock. We have the Big Rock, and we've got a park around there. There's no signage on the highway indicating Big Rock or point of interest or anything like that. We don't have many unique things within our community, and I'm just not sure if there should be a service level discussion as to how do we get something more out of that and use that to the town's advantage, or do we just pretend that we don't have it? So I'm just not sure how to go forward with doing something with the Big Rock.
So like promoting its location and so forth, and we can actually handle that through the wayfinding sign project to direct people to that. It's one method. I believe we do promote it on our website, if I'm correct, Ms. Button. So, but if council is looking for more, then we can definitely investigate that.
We basically have nothing now, so anything's better than where we're at, so. The trail system out to the historical park. Is there any updates on that? I was under the impression that something was gonna happen this summer to upgrade from, in the county. This is, you may not know the answer to this, I have no idea, but anyway, that trail system is
Yeah.
virtually overgrown to
Yeah,
get out there.
no, so it's the Bicentennial Trail out to
Yes.
the historic park. Our town staff maintain that, but that maintenance is very low because it is actually in the county. We basically maintain it as a goat path. They just go through it once a year to clean out any debris and so forth. Under the ICF, which is a discussion this afternoon with Clearwater County, regional trail systems is one of the items for the two municipalities to discuss for future agreements in connection of that. But that is basically where we're at. So it is in the ICF, so both councils are can discuss and to see if they want to jointly promote or improve that trail system.
I've been told that last year was maybe a foot wide and this year we're maybe even less, so. It's,
I haven't walked it this year, so I would have to verify that.
you're not gonna walk it hand in hand. Next one, so the parade route. A few years ago, the parade route was changed to go through a residential area. And I'm not sure where this discussion should happen, but it used to go down Main Street, which is advantageous to the business community. Typically, any floats that are in there are business oriented. And the parade route, following the old route down Highway 11, we were told that Highway 11 was something that we couldn't shut down for a parade route. And I was just reading in the Journal that the town of Riley closed down their highway to for the parade for 3 hours. And I'm thinking, well, that's definitely, if they can do it, we can do it. How do we go about having a look at the parade route to being advantageous to our business community,
Yeah, so.
or more advantageous?
So the parade route is actually selected by the Rodeo Association, RAZA, is their parade, and we just provide the approvals that go with it. So they actually pick that route, but there can be a discussion with the town and RAZA to see if they're willing to amend the route. Then, of course, if it's Highway 11, then the Alberta Transportation also needs their approval. They do give us approval for 11A, or RAZA approval for 11A.
For attendees of the parade, it allows more access to bathrooms and items such as that if it goes through the commercial area, and gives frontage to people on the parade route, so, and the businesses.
Sorry, I think Councillor Capero has a question.
Just a quick one, just while we're talking about parades. So who chooses the parade route for the
Parade of Lights.
Parade of Lights? Thank you for the name. I think.
The Kinsman
Is it
does.
The Kinsman, yeah. Okay, do you have more questions, Councillor Shippold?
I do,
Okay.
if you allow me. The trail system, I've had seniors who are walking the trail system and they get the dickens scared at them because of bikes going past them. And the lady who came to me said she almost got hit. And they're wondering if we don't have a bylaw that if you're passing somebody on the trail system walking, that you have a bell on your bike where you ring the bell to forewarn walkers on there. And she'd indicated that somebody had on a bike went by them and was swearing at them because two ladies walking side by side, that they were taking too much of the trail system. They didn't even know they were being approached. There was anything. So I'm not sure. She suggested a bell to forewarn people walking on the trail system. I don't know. I don't, maybe for a trail system walker, there may be something different there, so.
If I may, Acting Mayor, Councillor Shipple, that is explicitly stated on the Share the Trail use signs we have on the trail at several locations about passing on the left, using your voice or a bell to indicate you're coming through.
The lady who talked to me said that they just go whizzing by you and scare the dickens right out of you, and she said the bikes are quiet and all of a sudden it's just by you. And so anyway, Councillor Hutchinson, you're on the trail system all the time. Do you ever notice anything such as that? Or?
I was going to make the same comment with all the signage that's there. It's very clear as to the rules and what you should be following when you're walking on the trail. It does happen, and yes, the bikes are quieter. Most people are very respectful, and if they don't have a bell, they'll say, I'm
On your left.
coming up behind, or whatever it may be. So maybe it was just one bad apple.
Coincidental.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, Councillor Lusker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just one question for administration. Throughout the town, we have waste receptacles and we collect bottles and cans, and I'm just wondering what happens to those when they're returned.
Those are collected by staff and they're used for staff functions.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, any other administrative inquiries? Okay, seeing no more, I'm going to move on to notices of motion. Do we have any notice of motion? Okay, seeing none, we will take a brief recess and then we'll be moving into closed session. Okay, we are back in a live session, and I'm just looking for a motion to go into closed session. Counselor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm still make the motion. We move into closed session.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And we are now in closed session. Okay, we are back out of closed session, and we have one motion coming out of closed session. Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that we accept CAO dialogue for information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? That is carried, and I will adjourn the meeting at 11:31. Thank you, everyone.